Welcome to the Happy Black Woman Podcast, where we're on a mission to empower women to transform their lives through personal development and entrepreneurship. We bring you all the information, inspiration, and motivation you need to create a life of happiness, success, and freedom. Now, please welcome your host, the happy Black woman herself, Rosetta Thurman.
Hello, ladies. This is Rosetta, and welcome back to the Happy Black Woman Podcast. I am so excited to be bringing you an amazing guest that many of you have been asking me about for the past couple of years, and we have just never connected until now. We've been going back and forth, and so I'm very excited to be speaking today with Cameka Smith, founder of the Boss Network. And she's right here with us on the line. Welcome, Cameka.
Thank you so much. And I thank you. It's so funny because I, of course, watched your brand from the beginning, from when I started about 8 years ago. So it's always great to either put a face or a voice to a name. And that's the power of social media. I watch all of these amazing women like yourself. And so to be able to connect, it's always good.
Yes, definitely. I am very inspired by so many of us who did start brands and didn't give up. We kept going. It was like bootleg in the beginning, and we had these crappy looking websites and all of that, myself included. And over time, you know, the people who stuck with it really are reaping the benefits today. So I'm very inspired to have you on and excited to hear your story. But for those who don't know about you, Cameka, can you just say a little bit about what you do, what the Boss Network is all about?
Yeah, sure. So the Boss Network is an online community. I'd like to tell people that it's like the Facebook for professional women. We are the number one online network for professional women of color. So we focus on multicultural women in business. So that is career oriented as well as entrepreneurship. And a lot of what we do is around, content development to help women grow in those different industries, as well as online workshops, offline events, and lots of social media engagement. And so, it's really, I would say, the hub for women in business that want to grow. And we've been able to create a platform that's been listed in Forbes magazine about 5 times, one of the top 10 websites for women, as well as Black Enterprise, Inc., TechCrunch, and, a lot of great publications that kind of validated the work that we do. So that's always a great thing. So ultimately, the Boss Network is a community for professional women of color.
Mm-hmm. All those communities are so needed. I mean, people always say, I don't know any group that I can join. And I'm like, online is where you should go to try to find these groups, because there's so many. There's groups for specific types of professionals, entrepreneurs that have popped up over the last few years, because I think we're figuring out that it's so powerful to have our own spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great. And it's so interesting because, when I started 8 years ago, there was not a lot of communities. And so I think there was probably myself and LaShonda Hendry, who I love, who has her platform for professional women. And then you had, the mainstream ones like Ladies Who Launch and, National Association of Professional Women. And so to be able to have these spaces for women of color to have conversations that are geared towards the things that we're interested in and the challenges that we face, it's much needed. So, those who have created communities for us and that are continuing the work.
Yeah, definitely. Well, tell me, Cameka, what made you start the Boss Network? What was it in you that said, I'm going to go out there and put together this networking organization?
I tell people that I've been an entrepreneur probably my entire life, from the age of, the youngest I can remember is probably 12 years old, probably younger than that. I was doing something entrepreneurial. But what really started me to create the Boss Network was something that a lot of women go through. I had a very thriving career in education. My master's degree is in adult education and counseling. So I worked in Chicago public schools for over 10 years and developing programs for students and training teachers and principals on academic strategies. And I had a very successful career, was making 6 figures by the age of 25 and really, really doing well. And I got laid off in 2009, probably with half of the country. So, you go through that over aha moment, like, okay, what now? And so, it's that fight or flight situation, right? So instead of fearing what was to come, I decided to do something about it and create my own destiny. And so I just set out to create an opportunity for me to start my own business. I had already, launched the business. It was an event marketing company. And I love, creating events and working with brands. I had been an influencer for a couple of brands in Chicago. And so as I was stepping out to make this thing more of a full-time instead of a hobby, as you know, it was challenging. And I saw at that moment that, I needed some help. I needed some resources. I needed some mentorship. I needed some guidance. And as I was out there talking to different women, I found that they were in need of the same thing. And there really wasn't a specific place to get that information. You could just, try to find a mentor, go to SCORE, go to the Women's Business Development Center. But there was nothing specifically for women of color, particularly here in Chicago, I would say. So I just set out to, do a series of events for women of color because I had an event company. I said, okay, let me start this series of events called BOSS, which stands for Bringing Out Successful Sisters, because that's exactly what I wanted to do. And I'm going to gather women, and I'm going to be the conduit of information. If anything else, I've always been a networker. I've always had great resources because, you work in Chicago Public Schools, you work in any school district, you got to be resourceful. So I had a lot of great connections and resources, and I just leveraged that for my events, and I collaborated with other women. I started building my brand in collaboration with other women that were doing great things. And from there, that's how the Boss Network started. We were offline events. And then as we continued to grow, women just start emailing and saying, how do we join Boss? And I was like, join Boss? There's nothing to join. So, if your customers ask you for it, you better figure out a way to give it to them. So I just started to do my research on community. And I knew I didn't want a traditional offline community. I knew that I was very busy and I had, a lot of things I was interested in. So, I just took advantage of platforms like Facebook and at the time Twitter that were engaging people, internationally and online, and said, okay, I can build an online community and connect women all over the country. And that's what I set out to do.
Beautiful. Wow, I love the different aspects of your story, that it really came out of a situation that for some people would have been devastating to lose their job. They would have been going out the next day trying to find another one. And yet you used it as an opportunity to start your business. And then, really paying attention to what was happening when people would come to your events, that they're asking for something deeper that they could be a part of. And you created that. And so give us a little bit of numbers. So in terms of membership, how large is the Boss Network now?
We are a community that is engaged via, several platforms. So we have, our social media that reaches probably collectively about 200,000. We have our email list that goes out to our subscribers, that content that is probably around, I would say, close to 80,000, 80,000. And then we have our membership that is close to about 2,500. And so we have, multiple streams of levels of information that we send out to those different groups of women. So collectively, we probably touch, millions of women when we think about social engagement and social media. But yeah, the network has definitely grown over the years. And, our membership go from, literally probably about 10 women to now reaching, over 75,000. It's really great. So it shows that the work that we're doing is needed. And we're kind of just on the cusp. I mean, you've seen probably all the articles that talk about women of color, leading in entrepreneurship. I think since 1996, we've probably increased over 200% as far as starting. And so it just shows that this is a time for women to say, hey, I want to take my destiny into my own hands. We are faced with some of the same issues we were faced with 30 years ago, the glass ceiling, discrimination in the workplace. And so this is our answer to creating our own legacy, right? Being a boss.
Totally. I mean, there was perfect timing in alignment with what you're doing. And so the people, obviously the women keep coming, and the more the people hear about it, the more people are interested in it. And so when it comes to the benefits of membership, so I always say that meeting people in person is the most powerful connection you can have. And of course, the second most powerful is talking to them on the phone and then, online and all that. But what are the benefits to being a member? Do you guys do events, throughout the year, every quarter, every month? How does it work?
So we are a national network, moving into international territory. And so, one of the things that we really focus on with our membership, because we started, when we got listed in Forbes, one of the top 10 websites, that was something that happened literally a year, not even a year after we launched. So it was very premature on our end because we hadn't even really created a business model. We were just, had a membership organization, and we were kind of developing what that looked like going forward and what we were going to offer our members. But from day one, just as an entrepreneur, I really thought about the things that I needed. And I tried to survey the women in my network. And to this day, that's how we create our programs. We really look at the women in our network and ask them, what is it that you are lacking? What is it that you need? And so, we really built our membership around marketing and promoting our women. Because the reality is, a lot of times people join communities and it's literally just a networking opportunity. So some people feel like, oh, I can join Facebook. I can just get a Twitter account. I can network with people online. But that's not the same as joining a community. You are with a group of like-minded individuals who are going towards the same goal, maybe in different directions, but the same goal, which is success. And so that's great because we're able to really connect women on a different level, depending on their region. And then we also give them an opportunity to promote their businesses and also have access to career opportunities. And so our membership includes being featured in, our blog, as well as other national media partners that we have, like Upscale Magazine and Rolling Out and Black Enterprise and Forbes. And so we've been able to feature our members in so many publications to help launch and grow their brands. Mm-hmm. Also do email marketing to promote our membership and also keep our subscribers interested in what's happening. And we leverage our members. Everything that we do content-wise comes from our membership. We literally have such amazing women. I mean, you're talking about women that all of us know, the Dee Marshalls, the Donia Jarvis, the Zenobia Andrews, the Allison Birds, all of the big figures in business of women of color. They're a part of this network. And so I'm very grateful that those women, see the value and have connected. Nicole Roberts-Jones. I mean, there's so many, I can go on and on and on. But we really leverage them as experts, and we utilize their information to help disseminate it to the rest of our membership. And we use them as coaches, and we use them as, experts and workshop presenters and speakers for our events. And so that's really what the memberships are based on. We have 2 different levels of membership, and then we have 2 programs where we engage members. So we have Black Card membership, Platinum membership, and then we have an Influencers program and our newest program, which is the Key Connectors program. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And so get different levels of access to your experts and to the network. How often would you say you guys do your events?
So we have events that we do nationally. We travel to do our different events. So I would say we either produce or we are partnered on events every single month. Mm-hmm. So it's great because, we just said as a network, it's great to connect online, but we really want to be able to, like you said, power in that face-to-face connection, right? Mm-hmm. So being able to look offline and really engage those women, and then giving the women in that community an opportunity to be able to see each other face-to-face, it's always great. So we do events about once or twice a month, depending on, our partnership programs. But as a network, we produce between 8 and 10 events a year, and then we partner for about 10 to 15 events a year. So we're literally, doing stuff all the time.
Yeah, that is impressive. I mean, we just started increasing our events last year, and they are a production. So it's definitely...
They are more than a notion.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So if you do events, you know what it takes to produce an event and really just, try to create a curriculum, provide great content, and then even get people out, because nowadays I tell people entrepreneurship is becoming very trendy. And so you have so many everything, so many coaches, so many experts, so many communities, so you got to really try to figure out, okay, who's, actually delivering on their promise, right? And who's actually doing things that are going to help me grow and develop in my career. I think that is probably one of the challenges that a lot of entrepreneurs face at this day and age, because now everybody's an expert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's great because that's a challenge and also an opportunity for us because we can be experts too. It's a beautiful space for us to be in, especially as Black women. The playing field has been leveled, even though our political landscape has changed a lot over the past few months. The truth is that America is still, for capitalism, for entrepreneurship. So, if you want to do something, this is the place to be able to do it. So I love that you all focus on the in-person networking because community is so important. And, when you said there's so many communities popping up, what I've seen and experienced is that a lot of these coaches and consultants, they give great information, all these mentors. I have several different mentors. But for me, the unique part of networking with women of color is the community. There's things that I can't say, with my white counterparts. I love my white sisters. I love my white brothers and all of that. But it's just a different conversation that you can have with a business owner of color, especially another Black woman.
Absolutely. I mean, it's that difference of, the similarities and the challenges we face to the celebration of one of us actually making it and being able to, inspire or even pull somebody else along. Like, it's just something that, it really is inspirational. I will tell people, like we talked about in the beginning, us starting these brands and not giving up, it is not easy. So to be able to have online mentors like a Rosetta Thurman and, even an Oprah Winfrey or whoever case that you might not be able to touch and feel, but you are inspired by her work. And that kind of gives you the motivation to want to go another day, another year, another, decade with the work that you're doing. That is powerful.
Totally. So, I know we're going to get into some tips, but my quick tip is that no matter what other communities you belong to, or no matter what other coaches or mentors you're following or learning from, that, as a Black woman, that you should have a community that can support you of, people who look like you, because there are certain things you're going to go through that, other people may not be able to understand.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, give us some insight into how, as Black women entrepreneurs, we can leverage, the in-person networking. As an introvert, I have a community full of introverts who we would rather just stay behind the computer. And this is coming from someone who, speaks at events, at least 10 times a year. But I feel most comfortable behind the computer. So as it relates to building our business in 2017, what are 3, simple tips or strategies you can give us to maximize our in-person networking that we're doing?
Yeah. So how many did you say? Look,
just 3.
Because, this conversation could go on.
I know.
When it comes to, networking and building a business, God, there's so many amazing tips. And that's why, like you said, you have so much access to so many great mentors online that you can pull from and so many great communities. And now, Facebook groups that you can join with communities and be, learning information. Like I love, Tiffany the Budgetnista is one of my great friends. And I love, being able to learn from her about wealth building. So she's awesome at that. But when it comes to networking, I tell people that my success literally has come from my ability to learn how to network because, again, I was not a master networker in the beginning. I am a social introvert, which a lot of people are like, what is that? So I am the type of person that I love people. I like engaging people, but I like to be alone. I like to be at my computer. I like to spend a lot of time with my own thoughts. I enjoy actually being in rooms with bigger people and being able to engage that way, as opposed to like a lot of times, just kind of like doing a lot of one-on-one stuff. So I enjoy groups. And so for me, it's very much a challenge because I am, very social, but then I get to those moments where I want to unplug from everything. So I'll go through this hiatus from social media. My team is making sure that everything's happening, but I'll just pull out and say, I just need a break. So with that, when you are, whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, I think that the rules are the same. And it can apply to anyone. So, I just try to simplify it with I call it the 3 R's, right? So the first is Rosetta relationship, right? Everything is about relationship. And so I think a lot of times we are taught to meet as many people that we can and engage as many people that we can, collect as many business cards that we can.
Right.
And then we have no idea who they are, what they do, and how we met them, Get a box full of business cards. But what I've learned is that it's the quality, not the quantity, right? There was a time in my business where I saw a lot of women that I was connecting, growing faster than I was. And I was like, what is going on here? But I realized my network was so big, I didn't even know where to start connecting, right? I didn't know where to start building relationships. So I got very organized. I created a networking database and I started to really organize who I was connecting with and what they did and how, we could work together, how we could benefit each other. And from there, I started building relationships. And that's when things got real. Does that make sense?
Totally. I have the same issue. There's so many people in our network and people sending emails all the time. And I'm like, I don't know you. But somehow we're connected. And so what makes it easier for me and not as overwhelming is every year I identify 10 people that I want to get to know better and build a trust-based relationship. And so I never do any partnerships with anybody unless we break bread together. We see each other face to face on Skype or something. And that helps me have, not 100 strong relationships, but a good handful that I can focus on every year.
Yeah, and Rosetta, you hit it on the head. I think that for us, we are always looking at the quantity, thinking the quantity is going to get us more access I have to customers. I mean, it is a numbers game when we talk about customers, right? But at the end of the day, it really is about those solid relationship that you can build further than having this huge network that basically overwhelms you and you do nothing. And I've been in that place where I was just overwhelmed. I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to do it by myself. I'm going to figure this out. Relationship is key. That's number one. The second thing for me is, I would say, resistance, right? So being able to take no for an answer, being able to be told that I'm not interested and being able to bounce back from that. I think a lot of times our egos or just, our confidence bruise when somebody tells us, oh, I'm not interested, or, that's not a good opportunity for me. And what I like to say is, it might not be a good opportunity right now, but it doesn't mean it's not an opportunity later, right? So as I'm building my brand and I come across obstacles and things that are trying to push me on the other side of the spectrum, I try to ask the person or whoever I'm engaging, what can I do better? What's going to make you become one of my clients? And when they tell me, I go to work. And when I go to work and I come back, now you can't tell me no. Well, maybe you can, but whatever. So having that resistance to not be giving up so easily, because entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. You have to be tenacious. You have to have thick skin, and you have to be able to, what the Bible says about who runs the race the fastest, about who endures to the end. That's success.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. Resistance. And then number three, and we're talking about networking, right? Because I'm like going mind networking and business.
Yeah.
So number three with networking, I would say is, I guess I lost my other R.
Well, they're all connected, networking, business. It's all about making those connections and then obviously turning it into something that's going to be useful for your business. But one thing that came up as you were talking about business networking is that a lot of networking that I do ends up being more of not a direct business opportunity or transaction, but a personal friendship. There's so many people that I've met that it's like, wow, we have so much in common. This is more than business. And this happens a lot more for me in networking communities of color, where it's like, well, I would love to have more friends who are entrepreneurs, that can understand what I'm going through versus, my friends who have jobs and all of that. So whenever I can make that connection, that's not just a business connection, but a personal friendship that can be created with another entrepreneur, that is even almost more valuable to me than the business.
You know what? And I think that, Rosetta, that's such an amazing point to touch on. And I'm going to just make that like my last one. I think when we talk about building relationships, we have to understand it doesn't happen overnight, right? I have created some amazing relationships that in the beginning, it wasn't a business opportunity directly, but over the years, it has grown to a mentorship, to a friendship, to a sponsorship. So being able to say, making sure that it's a reward versus risk type of thing, right? It's like, what's in it for somebody else? A lot of times as entrepreneurs, I think that we really want to grow so bad and we want to be able to connect that we're looking at it from like, what's in it for me, but it's really about what's in it for the other person, right? And it might not be something that will translate into business off the bat, but if you're going into it just with openness to see what it can be, you will be surprised at what comes from that. Because I have people, like I said, I've connected with, and it was literally just a personal connection. And I love connecting with my ladies offline, women that I admire, women that, look up to me and all these great things, because you never know who can help you get to that next level. So being willing and open to receive people, because I think, sometimes also, we have engaged many people and it probably wasn't a positive engagement, right? So then we kind of work back to that isolation.
Yeah.
But the reality is that we gotta think smarter and work smarter. So creating boundaries for yourself, being open to new relationships, and like you said, making sure that you're putting systems in place so that you're not getting burned if that's the case. So making sure that you're actually meeting the person face to face, having a real conversation, because we got that good instinct, honey.
We definitely do.
Yeah, but it takes time, so we got to have patience and not just jump into bed with people right away. It really is about like dating, courting people, seeing if they are who they say they are.
Yeah.
And also following their work. I mean, I will say a lot of times, nowadays with social media is so great because their work speaks for them, and people are not shy by saying this person was great working with her, this person is not. So you have access to so much information that makes things a little bit easier. So just kind of having the patience to do the research and kind of just wait to see what the opportunity may be.
Yeah, definitely. But what I would say is that I love all the tips that you're sharing. And for everyone listening, that your network is an important part of having a successful business, but it's something that takes time and we're investing in it pretty much for our entire lives. You will be building your
Yeah.
network and nurturing it and growing it. So be patient, just like you said. I love that. Cool. Well, I would love to know, Cameka, with all of the networking you do and events that you put on and members that you serve, how do you stay focused and productive? How do you keep from, running around in circles? Are there any tools or strategies you can share with us for how you stay on top of things?
Yeah. And then I'll ask you to share some of yours with me so I can tell it because I'm always,
Uh-huh.
my sister is like, what do you do? Like, how
Right.
do you manage it all? Because I think people see the work that we do and it looks so seamless and so easy. It's like, wow, I wish I could do that. But, the reality is if you don't take care of yourself, you can't really be anything for anybody else. And so I've
Mm-hmm.
had to learn that over the years.
Yeah.
It's interesting. One of the things that I told myself this year, as an entrepreneur, you're always trying to grow, right? You want to do better than you did the last year. But I told myself that this year, my focus, it's on my business, but my real focus is on Cameka, right? Like I want to be a happy Black woman, honey. So
Mm-hmm.
I told myself that my goals for this year are really surrounded around me because the reality is, it's like a job. I'm going to have to do the work. So that's not going to stop. But my focus is on my holistic health, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So everything from, my physical health to my mental health to my emotional health and well-being, all those things to me is really important. And then getting back to the things that I love because entrepreneurship can be very consuming. And for my entrepreneurs out there, I know you know what I mean. We get all these images online, why they sleep, we grind. Oh no, honey, I like to sleep and I like to sleep at least 8 to 10 hours a day. I'm not going to lie. I
Uh-huh.
enjoy my rest. I do like
Yes.
what I do. And then when I wake up, I enjoy having that moment to myself where I can just meditate, pray, and get my thoughts together. I call it my power hour. I learned from one of my mentors. That first hour of the day, just really making it about me, meditating, praying, working out, eating something, that's going to nourish my body, and then getting to everything else because it is very consuming as an entrepreneur. You normally work 10 to 16-hour days sometimes. So you have to really take time out for yourself and find out what's important to you and not make your work who you are. Like I remember there was a time where everywhere I went and everything that I did was about boss. Like everyone wants to know what is boss, how's boss doing?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, 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 yeah. And now it's like I really want to be with people who want to know how is Cameka doing.
Yeah.
What's up with Cameka? Like, what do you like to do? Like, what do you enjoy?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a boss, but that's not all I am.
Right, right. Totally. I love that you said that because a lot of times we're concerned with how we can do more and more and more. And I had a guest on, Melissa Crawford from the Queen Code, and she was telling us last year around this time about how it may be better to do less and how less can be more and do less. And I think that comes from a lot of us just crashing and burning and then realizing that, wait a minute, I forgot to put myself in the picture and put myself on the to-do list. And I think that this year, a lot of people are realizing that, especially after we have did the grind thing for years and years. And for me, it was realizing 2015 that I had no room for romance in my life. I had no room for anybody to step into my life because it was all scheduled out and I had calls and workshops on the weekends and like, when am I going to go on a date? And I love dating. I love men. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to have one
Yeah.
to settle down with, I need to build time into my schedule. And that wasn't easy. I had to look at the calendar and say, okay, Rosetta, you're not going to be able to work on the weekends anymore. How about that?
Yeah.
So definitely understand where you're going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely true. And I think that, that's probably like the big caution that I give to all my entrepreneurs just because now with social media, like you said, the playing field has evened. So now we can, we don't have to go to lenders. We can go directly to our customers. But what that also does, it allows us to see our other sisters and brothers rocking and rolling. And so we put that pressure on ourselves, like, I'm not doing enough, you
Yeah.
know? So that's why I say I tune all the way out, honey. Like, I'm just like, listen, I know I do enough. So I'm like, I don't need to be looking at nobody else and seeing what they're doing and feeling like, I'm not doing my thing, because I am. And so it's like, you gotta set the standard for what does success look like for you. And for some people, it's being a multimillionaire,
Yeah.
and for some people it's being able to take care of their family. For some people, it's just being able to do the work that they love. So you got to identify what does success look like for you. And I have to realize that I'm the type of person that I like nice things. I enjoy making money, but that's not like everything for me. You know, I enjoy serving. I enjoy mentoring. I enjoy, having time for my family and friends. And so if I can get this thing on automation and I can make it work for itself, hey, that works better for me.
Yeah, totally. I love it. And so I think what we're both talking about for everyone listening is that there's no one right way to be an entrepreneur. You have to make it work for you and your lifestyle and your goals that you have for your life. And nobody can tell you that it's wrong, because that's the whole point of entrepreneurship. We get to do what we want because we are bosses.
You hit it on the head. Yes.
Yes. Beautiful.
Let's be some happy bosses, right?
Exactly. Happy bosses. Happiness needs to be a part of the picture. Well, Cameka, I know our time is winding down, but I do want to know if you can give us a book recommendation from your library of a book that's inspired you or motivated you along your journey to success.
Oh, wow. My goodness. Okay. So I'm an avid reader. So I love books, and I read books, on so many different topics. So let me see. So, okay. So when it comes to, since we're talking about networking, one of my mentors in my head is George Fraser. He is, the master networker, as you probably have heard of him. But George Fraser has a quote that says, "In between the promise and the payoff is the process." And so I try to encourage people that, what you're going through is a process, and everything that you need on the other side will be there, but you've got to just be able to work through the process. And he has a book called Click that is all about networking and relationships and how to make that connection with someone. So that is a book from a networking standpoint that I recommend that people read.
Oh, beautiful. I don't think we've heard that recommendation on the show yet. So thank you.
Yeah.
We'll add that to our show notes. All right. Well, as we wrap up, I want to know if you had just one tip you could give to all the ladies listening who want to live life on their own terms and they want to have their own successful business, but they are just not sure if they can do it, or, they're afraid of failure or maybe even afraid of success. What's the one thing that you would tell them, knowing what you know now?
Wow. I think that, the one thing that I would tell them is to put their faith in someone bigger than themselves. I think a lot of times we put so much pressure on ourselves to do the work, but the reality is if you do the work and you trust the process, the higher power, which is God, will always make sure that you are rewarded. So I don't look to man for my reward. I look to God for my reward. So sometimes I do things and I don't feel like I get a direct payoff from it. Sometimes I've served and I've poured into people that didn't appreciate it. All these different things that we go through. But the goal thing I know is that God is my rewarder. So any door that needs to be open, he will open it for me. Any opportunity or connection that I need to make happen, he's going to set in my way. All I have to do is the work.
That's a great reminder. And it also brings us back to the reason why we all start businesses, which is our purpose. I've never met a Black woman who says, I started a business to make money. That's why she got a job, but that's not why she started the business. So it's all about our purpose and knowing that we're not ever doing this alone. I love that, Cameka. Well, tell us how we can stay in touch with you. We have shared some great time together today, but I know that our ladies are going to want more of you. So how can they get it?
Absolutely. So you can all connect online via our platform, thebossnetwork.org. Everything on social media is The Boss Network. And if the ladies want to connect with me personally, I try to share some inspiration here and there. They can follow me on I Am Cameka on Twitter and Instagram. And I just, want to salute you, Rosetta, for just doing your thing. And one of my old coworkers, Rhonda Thomas, she attended some of your events and she always speaks so highly of you. So I trust you on Rosetta's show. She was super excited. So you, the work that you're doing and inspiring and educating and connecting women.
Yes, that's awesome. I love all the connections that we make because as we are inspiring other people, we get inspired and everybody just kind of pays it forward. We as a community, I don't think that we can keep all this goodness to ourselves. So we just keep giving it out. It'll just keep spreading. So thank you. I appreciate your time and being here on the show. And hopefully we'll be able to connect soon and stay in touch.
Absolutely. It's long overdue. So it's absolutely my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Cameka. And thank you, ladies, for listening. Cameka is just one of our amazing experts who has been on the show to pour into us her wisdom and her resources. You can always go back and listen to previous episodes at happyblackwoman.com/podcast. And until next time, have a beautiful day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Happy Black Woman podcast. If you want all the show's notes from today's episode, go to happyblackwomanpodcast.com. Plus, we'll send you a copy of Rosetta's free life mapping workbook. We look forward to empowering you next time. And until then, do something this week that makes you happy.